Who am I?
Yeah, who are you?
Sam
What brought you
Davis.
out here? Why are
Sam,
you in LA?
I came out to LA yesterday to do an intervention on Saturday. I'm going
Nice.
to have the rehearsal tonight, and we're going to intervene on the guy Saturday morning.
Nice.
So the family's coming out tonight, and I said, while we have this opportunity while I'm in LA, got to see Chris, and got to see Pej.
I know.
I've been wanting to meet y'all in person for a long time.
I know. It's interesting because our relationship has actually been formed through social media. It's funny because now that I'm thinking about it, is how you and I ended up getting connected was because my manager was out at Jaywalker,
Yeah.
and then he shared and he was like, "You asked, you were like, hey, is there this guy who
Yeah.
works for you?" And you were, and then we got numbers exchanged, and then me and you have basically been going back and forth on
Yeah.
text and stuff like that the entire time. It's like the most interesting thing because you
Yeah.
think like I think a lot of times you think of social media and you go, "Oh, well, this is like a lot of it is just nonsense and, oh, the superficial." And me and you have actually had like real conversations. And when you came, I was like, "Oh yeah, I don't care. Like, we'll shoot a podcast." I don't have a plan ever with any of this. I'm like,
Right.
I can just have a conversation with you, and as soon as you got in the car, we're like
We've been talking the whole time.
chatty Cathy.
Yeah, like
you
we've
know?
known each other the whole time, you
Yeah.
know? And that's social media, man. Like, I'm not saying that we wouldn't have met each other
Yeah.
future down the road, but like this whole meeting is because, boom, I saw some stuff you put up, and I'm like, this guy sounds like my brother.
Yeah. No, and
This
that
guy
was
gets it.
literally how it was.
Yeah.
And it's cool because like almost before we met, we kind of had a little gauge on like what our perceptions of the world and almost therapeutic style in terms of intervention or working with people and stuff like that. So it was cool. Off rip, we're like, oh, we're cut from the same, I call it the God cloth, right?
Yeah.
We're cut from the same God cloth. Might become, you grew up in the, would that be
Virginia.
Northeast? Is
Virginia.
that Northeast,
It's
right?
Southeast.
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 Oh no, my geography.
Definitely a southern state.
Yeah, yeah.
We're definitely southern state.
Yeah. You grew up in the Southeast, so I'm born and raised in LA.
Right.
But yet when we get together, we're like, oh no, we see things very, very similarly.
Yeah.
You know?
Eerily similar.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's always.
I'm curious a little bit without disclosing too much information of the status of this intervention today, only because I love hearing like a little bit of the background on the case.
Family is a very loving family, a very well put together family, highly educated family, and this individual has had some stuff happen when he was younger that was out of his control,
Mm-hmm.
that he had to watch,
Mm-hmm.
some violence, and when we're little kids, it's like, it's up to me to do something, or everything's about us when we're little kids, right?
Of
I mean,
course.
and so he took it upon himself is that, I did not protect my family. He took a full ownership of that and just been beating the shit out of himself for all these years. And it's just manifested into just debilitating alcoholism where he's not even employed, he's not in school, nothing. And the family's been footing the bill for a long time, thinking that maybe this week he'll get it together. Maybe this will be the last rent check that we have to write for this apartment. Maybe this will be the last. And it just kept going and going and going. And there, so what we're gonna do is, like, he doesn't know that we're coming. Like,
Johnson.
Well, yeah, it's a Johnson.
It's Johnson.
Absolutely. Like, and that's not to be deceiving to him. That's not to pull a rug out from under him. Is that, honest to God, he's on a need to know basis, and right now he doesn't need to know.
Agreed.
That's it. You'll know when it's time for you to know.
Yeah.
But the family is prepared, and we're going to go in and have an organized conversation with their loved one. That's it.
Yeah.
As a family. That's all it is. And the family is afraid, right? But, they've engaged me a couple weeks ago. And we had a round table the other night on the phone, and
A little
or
pre-intervention?
powwow. Yeah, well,
Little
a pre-intervention, because the rehearsal is tonight. That's
Okay,
where
yeah.
I'll read the letters, or they'll read the letters, and I'll make some changes if necessary, and the team really gets solidified right there tonight. But just a grounding meeting for them a few days ago, and they had all the fears. Is he really an alcoholic, or or could we be overreacting? I'm like, well, in the thousands, over 1,000 I've done, I haven't intervened on one yet that didn't need it.
Of course. Yeah.
So they just needed to be grounded, and they're ready to do business. The family's flying out; they're flying from all over the country, and he knows that they are coming. but he doesn't know that I'm coming with him.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's actually a beautiful thing. One thing that you brought up, and it's interesting because you're talking about the family's like anxiety around this whole situation. I often feel like maybe the show Intervention plays into this only because it's like very, I mean, the reason why it's a show is because it's a drama, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So there's theatrics, but behind how they even edit that show and stuff like that. But almost the mentality, because we'll get calls for interventions and stuff like that, and then I'll bring interventions up, like to refer out at certain points, and families like, oh no, we can't do that, and I'm like, well, I'm curious on like why there was just an immediate like this can't happen when also you're in a position where you're calling asking us for help. It's like a weird thing, and the mentality is that like interventions are like a punitive exercise. And I always reframe it to families. It's like, no, this is actually an act of love. Like we're not coming in and 99% of the time, then you might have one once in a while, you got someone really like hardcore junkie and you're coming in like maybe old school Johnson family model. But majority of the time interventionists aren't entering like that because you're trying to foster some sort of therapeutic alliance with the individual and be like, hey dude, like, I'm actually here just to help. Like everyone's here because they love and care about you. And oftentimes when we're talking to families about it, I'm like, this is actually like an act of love.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's so confusing to me, like how many people perceive it as, like even when you say, it's funny, you did it even when you said it. You said Johnson family, but it's not. Like Johnson even has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's automatically like this almost resistance to it. And like Johnson, like, hey, there's a reason why we're not telling this individual. We might be, I call it sandbagging, like you kind of push it in there,
right.
but there's a calculated reason. The truth is if I thought the individual would sit down to an invitational style and I'm guessing you have the meeting with the family and you go through all that and you go, invitational ain't going to work on this
I'm
guy.
always looking for an opportunity to invite the individual into the process, but if I feel like it's going to be more damaging to the family or to the individual themselves,
100%.
I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
They're on a need to know basis. And I use the phrase mushroom farm. I'm like, look, we're going to mushroom farm them right now. We're just going to feed them full of shit and leave them in the dark for the moment. just for the moment. I don't come out of the gate with that, but once I've built a rapport with the family,
100%.
And, they get my personality and all the way I talk and the way I explain things, they appreciate it. But this, I don't think you'll hear some facilitators, some interventionists talk about that certain models of intervention are unethical, and I take issue with that. I don't agree with that. I think that there is no unethical model of intervention. I think that they're just practitioners of that model that don't fully understand the model and use it incorrectly. I don't think a Johnson model intervention is an unethical way to approach a loved one who has a debilitating illness that's ripping through their life and the lives of their families. I don't think it's an unethical model if done appropriately. But
100%.
but a half-assed practitioner can come in and just butcher the shit out of it and make it an unethical experience.
Yeah. Only because it entered my mind, and I shoot from the hip with things that entered my mind. With that said, I know Johnson invitational model. I'm not going to state the name of the model, but models that kick out the intervention for like 6-8 months, where what is your perception of like these extremely elongated? I have my own opinion. I think everyone on the internet knows what my opinion is about that, but I'm curious, is there situations where you've seen that actually be feasible and work? I haven't, is why I have the perception I have. I'm like a strike when the iron's hot type of guy. I'm just curious on like what your perception is.
I have never in my 14 years of doing this, have I ever come to the table thinking that that's going to be my strategy, is to drag this shit out over 6 or 8 months. That's never been my strategy at all. I have had situations that have evolved that it has taken 8 months, 9 months, over a year of family coaching and meetings and mediation, if you will, to get an individual to the point where they're like, okay, screw it, I'm ready to go. And they do well at that point. They had to have their experience. But I am not a guy that's going to take a family and say, well, I'll sign on for 6 months and 8 months and such and such, and we'll do this. Like, if I want to relieve the suffering or help the family relieve the suffering in their family situation as quick as fucking possible.
I agree with you too, because I think about even interventions that I've done in the past where they don't land, but then somehow they weren't done. They needed to go out and experiment a little bit more and go out and test the waters and have more learning experiences. And then later on, like those people come around, like sometimes 2 years later.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's more valuable than anything that I could ever tell them. If I could have
By far.
finagled them or hoodwinked them or their family into treatment, that's I would rather them go out and have the experience that they need to have, so they can go in saying, "Hey, you know what? I do need a new experience."
I agree.
Here, you know.
Yeah, no, I
Definitely do.
wholeheartly agree.
But you know, and I'm not a guy that believes that every individual has to go to inpatient care. I'm just not.
You know my opinion.
Yeah,
I feel
and
like
that's why I love you, man. That's why I'm so excited to be here. Man, I'm gonna be real. Like, you say some shit that I think that I've been that I hadn't had the testicle fortitude to put out there, but you have inspired me, man, to be like, you know what? I just want to be more real, because the stuff that you put out is real. It's authentic. It's truth. It's what it's really like in these trenches. It's what is really necessary to create change in an individual that is displaying insanity.
Yeah.
And to watch that in real time and watch you do that is inspiring. And I know you're inspiring a lot of people, and you're creating change out here. Well, and hopefully we change the field. Hopefully.
I hope so.
It's tall order.
I mean, it's interesting because I was thinking about, like, you know, we're coming here. What are we going to talk about? Stuff like that. And I've had a few people go, "Oh, well, you're a provocateur. You know, you're intentionally saying provocative stuff." And the truth is like, I wish I was more tactful. I just lack tact. What comes out of my mouth is just how I genuinely feel. And when we were on our way over here, we got into this conversation essentially about like the growth process through reading the comments. Like, the first time you get slammed on with TikTok, especially, that's where I got hit the worst. Like, people are heinous, like the things that they say, and you're there's a part of you, the first time it happens, you're like, ooh, am I a bad person?
Yeah.
Ooh, I might be like a narcissist, sociopath, as people are perceiving me based on what I said, based on this 20-second clip. They're missing so much context, but like, I kind of went in there, and it's been almost like this, we were talking about this, like this refining process, like a character refinement process, where I had to kind of get honest with myself on what was me and what was other people's shit. Because I started to see, as I would go through the comments, like, people were projecting onto me like experiences from their previous abusers. Like, maybe someone who bullied them, and because I was so direct, it kind of triggered this thing. They're like, "You're being a bully." And it's like, what I realized was, because if for people who don't know what we're talking about or follow my content, is majority of the time when my content is actually me talking to other men. Mm-hmm. So people would take this and be like, "Oh, you're being abusive, da 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 da." What I realized, this is the craziest revelation for me, it helped shift everything for me. No one ever asked how that guy responded to it. No one was ever concerned how the individual in that experience actually received what I was saying, and also didn't take into context that, like, these guys are at Ethos for 6 months, minimum 3 months. I have a rapport with them.
Yeah, they didn't just come in and sit down on the sofa and you just lay in.
Yes.
It's part of the culture. It's an established culture that they've been immersed in.
Yes. And I think that was one of the things where I was like, oh, like, getting more comfortable with who I am and my messaging, because it makes me feel good, if I'm honest, like, when you go, "Dude, I like that you're raw and you're real," because I've had people in the industry at conferences, and it's happening more and more now, where they come up to me and they go, "You know," they like pull me aside, you know, "I want to say everything that you've said on there." And it like kind of reinforces me in this way, where I'm like, well, we all kind of see it. You know, we all kind of agree. And I don't want to say all, I'm globalizing in this. A lot of us agree that there's a problem here, an inherent problem. Certain elements we can't change. We can't change how insurance dictates care. We can't change certain things. And we all know that, like, the system is broken in some respects. And it's funny because I was thinking about this too, because I think about a lot about social media and media in general, the news, whatever it is. We're constantly focused on the negatives, negative, negative, negative. And I started going, well, maybe I'm doing that. This was like a real thing. I was thinking about this while I was driving to pick you up today. And I go, what I realized is it's not so much that I'm intentionally focusing on the negatives. I'm trying to separate myself from this. I don't want any part to do with that shit, with the rest of the treatment industry, like a lot of the insurance-based stuff. And listen, there's valuable quality insurance-based programs that I actually believe in. They're all owner-operated. Yes. I would never send my kid to any venture. For the audience out there, do not send your kid to any program that is operated by venture capital, for the most part. I've met one group in Los Angeles, actually. I will actually shout them out. Amay Health. They're the one group that I met, and I go and meet them, Sam. I go to their open house, and they're working with SMI, severe mental illness, schizophrenia, like people who are like salt of the earth in our industry who don't want to work with this demographic.
Right.
All in network. So this is a very, 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 very difficult population.
Extremely difficult.
It's as difficult as it gets.
Yeah.
So I meet with them. I go to the open house. They got all the good people from the county working there, UCLA, and I'm like, okay, this feels different. And Sonia and Stoss, they're the founders, and they're like, hey, we want to have a meeting with you. And I get on the meeting with them, and I go, I want to tell you guys something. I hate venture capital. You guys, everything you guys touch in this industry, you guys fucking destroy it. And everyone is stepping into this space because they see money's there to be made. But Sonia has like a unique story where she had family members who struggled with mental illness and stuff like that. And the guy Stoss is like, he's like, well, Chris, we're not one of those people. You know what I mean? And I had like this really, and I still talk to them regularly. And that's probably the only group, and I've met multiple people in VC, and like their conversations are not about people, they're about profit margins, EBITDA, flipping the program, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And I've watched consistently them come in and fail and fail and fail, because what they've lost every time they acquire these companies is the human-to-human touch. And the truth is like, I feel bad even saying it on some respects about and blanketing all venture capital, because I'm sure there's one or two more out there that are, you know, maybe are dialed in the right direction. And also because the frontline staff typically give a shit.
Yes. The techs.
Yes.
The behavioral health techs that are walking the floor.
Mm-hmm.
The case managers.
Therapists.
The janitors.
Yep.
You know, the maintenance crew.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's weird to see, like, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing interventions almost 15.
And in the treatment industry, though, that's all you've ever done, or were you doing
I
other
started out as a behavioral health tech in a treatment center at a year and a half sober.
Yeah.
And then worked my way up. You know, like next thing you know, they're allowing me to run some family groups and you know, do some recovery groups with the guys, and it's just found out I was good at it. Dude, I was a lumberjack before I sobered up. I had no idea that this is where my life would be. Like, man, like, I used to smoke crack down in the woods. I mean, I'd trip on acid and get in a tree cutting machine, you know, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in the woods. I remember we were cutting on this, it was a 600-acre piece of hardwood timber on this old plantation on the James River. Beautiful piece of property, man. I mean, it was for a forestry company to come in and get that track and land that track was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big deal to do that because beautiful timber. I'm in the back. We call them log decks. It's where we merchandise and process and send out all of our material and forestry, the wood, the logs, and the pulpwood. I'm sitting on the back deck, man, about 3 days into just doing blow constantly. And this is before crack came in. And I've got the dollar bill rolled up and stuck in the AC vent of my pickup. And I'm like staring out of like I've been up for 3 days, at least 3 days. I'm staring out thinking I'm seeing bow hunters all out in the woods everywhere. And I'm just staring out of the passenger window. And I turn back around and one of the landowners is standing at my fucking window. and I got blow all over my face and dollar bills all rolled up. I mean, just like that's what it was like. Like that was my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to now sit here in LA and talk to you and talk about the treatment field, and to be able to say, like, I got time into this thing, man. I got time into this deal now, you know? I'm
Mm-hmm.
15 years into this field, man. Like I didn't, when I started doing interventions, when I moved back home to Virginia, I started doing interventions because I didn't want to work at any treatment center that was in the state of Virginia. I just didn't. I wasn't jiving with what they were doing. And I'm like, well, I got to do something. Loggins out. So I became an interventionist. And then to where I am now, I never saw this coming, man. Never saw it coming, dude. You know, so with somebody sitting out there talking about, you know, they hate their job, I thought that's what I was always supposed to do, was in my family for 4 generations.
Uh-huh.
A family cemetery full of us. Every relative in my family had their own sawmills or logging operations or forestry business. It was what we did.
Yep.
And, you know, if you're sitting around hating your career, like, you have no idea the fucking 180 that can come your direction.
Yeah.
Especially, hey, go out, smoke a little crack, burn it down, and get sober. Don't recommend it. But this is what's happened as a result of my debilitating addiction is, man, and once I transformed my life, like, my life has exploded, dude.
Yeah, it's interesting. You reminded me of like when people like ask me like how'd you get into this industry? I was like, I destroyed my life and ended up with a career.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what happened. It's interesting because I actually wanted to talk about this with you because like the predominant narrative now is like trauma is the root of all addiction. And listen, I don't discredit that trauma is the root of addiction for a lot of people. But I get really like what's the word I'm thinking of right now? I'm like a contrarian with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's something I like disagree with, I'll contend with it. Not just to contend with it, it's because logically or rationally it doesn't make sense to me. And I think there's this predominant narrative. I think number one, trauma is often viewed from a deficits based perspective rather than a strength based perspective. And there's a whole theory on post traumatic growth. They work with veterans in the VA with this because trauma for you and I actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah. I've got something I want to share about that when we get to it, about my experience of me thinking trauma as a deficit to my kids.
Uh-huh.
You know, I can't wait to share that. You know?
I think we just jump into it right now because we're here right now.
Yeah, dude, I get it. Like, I don't mean to jump in there and interrupt,
please.
but man, like my youngest son, he, you know,
that's the one who was on the podcast.
No, that's my oldest son.
Okay, that's the oldest.
My youngest one, like, he's like, the CIA couldn't crack him, man. Like, he is, like, no shit, he should be an operative. Like, he frustrates the absolute shit out of me, where I just turn around and throw my hands up going, what the hell just happened?
How old?
He's 18 now.
Uh-huh.
Really a kind soul. He grew up with both his mom and his dad addicted, but I sobered up when he was 2. But he saw some stuff that he doesn't remember, but established some belief systems in himself about himself. And then his best friend, when he was 6 years old, had an asthma attack, died in the floor. Then his other friend, a couple years later, blew his own head off. Right? Then, you know, he and I, well, then he lost his uncle, which was like a father figure to him when I was in active addiction. Then he and I walk upstairs and walk in on my dad, who's passed away, in a chair. He's like right behind me. And I've been freaking out around this boy, hammering into my own head that he is a traumatized kid, and he is going to have debilitating handicaps throughout his life as a result of it. And the life is going to blow up in his face, and he's going to be in shitty relationships, which he may be in shitty. I've been in my share.
I think even if
right?
you're healthy, you end up in some
Right.
shitty relationships.
But what I realized, the way that I perceived it, as when he walked up and saw my dad passed away, his grandpa passed away in a chair, that he shut down. But it wasn't. He demonstrated strength. He didn't back away. He didn't cower. He stood there and supported me. He stood there with this, as they say in the state where I'm from, like a stone wall. He stood there and was supportive of everyone. Like, he's been conditioned. Yeah, he's got some deficits as a result of some character defects as a result of that experience as being a kid. But that dude is fucking strong.
Yep.
That dude is rock fucking strong. And I had to apologize to him. I made an amends to him and sat him down after we had buried my father. And I said, son, for many years I have taken and assumed that you had a lot of weakness as a result of your life, but you, sir, are a fucking warrior. And you have strengths that I wish that I had, and that is going to take you far in life. So I fell into that shit, man, of thinking that it's all going to be a deficit in his life.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think about it a lot. I mean, it rented a lot of space because I almost became a clinical psychologist. Like, I went to UCLA undergrad, so like I had all the background for that. And it was interesting because in our world, it's always like strength-based, like all the sound bits, wraparound care, comprehensive, trauma-informed.
Trauma-informed.
Yeah, this is the sound bit, but I'm like, really though? Are you trauma-informed? Because the reality is what I think about, even in these instances where like the narrative, you're as a parent, like where you can imbue what your fears and anxieties into your kid as a result of their inability to manage this trauma. And in all actuality, like when we look at our lives, and when we look at lives of people who weren't hardcore drug addicts too, let's just say normal people, life is peppered, even in the best circumstances, with pain, anguish, misery, despair. Also, love, beauty, tolerance, connection, relationships. And the truth is I'm not big. I've stepdaughters. And I'm like I'm Chris Howard there too. Like they know when I'm there. I love them so much. I also am like the other day she's like, I need you to make me top ramen. And I'm like, I've showed you how to make top ramen 3 times. I'm not doing it anymore. I need you to stand there to turn on the stove.
How old is she?
11.
All right.
Fuck that.
Right.
11 years old, bro. I was making burgers. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
I was smoking weed at 11.
It's funny.
I knew how to roll a joint at 11.
It's funny because actually what I said to her mom, I said, a year from her age, I started selling drugs. Literally.
You were doing business deals.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like already out on the streets trying to figure out how to make money. Granted, I went through foster care. My mom was schizophrenic. My dad went to prison. Like, I had all the big T's, little T's, everything in there. And what's interesting is, for me, I don't know how I formed the narrative. I can't explain it, don't know. But I already had imbued, I think it was in part because when I was going through the foster home, I remember this point being in like a courtroom and being like, oh, I can't rely on these people. This is the deficit of what the trauma was, right? I became extremely self-reliant to a deficit to where like even now it'll impact intimate relationships because I'm like, like, do people stick around? And not in like a negative way either. I'm just like, no, this is just like the nature of existence, you know? And what's interesting is when I was in this place up in Pasadena, it's called 7 Acres. And it was weird because when you end up in like a group home, foster home, black kids, white kids, Hispanic kids, especially in LA, right? Like their color don't mean shit to kids, period. It was one of these things where I found community. I found that it's probably why 12-step worked for me. It's probably why like I can do like communal sports or shit like that because I found community in other people. And the truth is what kept me solid, probably even when I wasn't solid, what kept me in the like using drugs, doing whatever it was, but also kept me solid was the group of guys who we all came from single parent family homes. We were all from broken homes, but somehow we formed this bond of people, which most of those dudes, if I look back on my social group, there's like 3 of us who are outliers. Everyone's dead in jail. I have one friend who like I love to death, worst type of tweaker in the planet, steal everything from everyone, never stole a thing from me. I'd leave him in my house. I'd have bags of Xanax, all these other drugs, stuff like that. And
I would have stolen from you. I would have taken that.
help me look for it too.
Yeah.
He never stole a thing from me, but he's like full blown off the rails right now. Like he's living on the streets in Minnesota. But it's weird because I look at trauma and I go, it just plays out for each person individually, like so different. But some people are able to adopt a philosophy where it's actually very helpful and impactful and fosters resilience. Because really, when it comes down to like work and all this other like nonsense, there's rough weeks, but for the most part, I'm unscathed. I'm like pretty stoic. It's funny because I started therapy recently, and they're like, I'm like at odds with my therapist in a healthy way because it's like always about like I need to tap into more emotion. And I'm like, listen, the therapeutic process you're talking about it's very difficult also because I understand therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm
you see where they're going.
Yeah, and I'm well read, and I go, but the problem is what you're trying to tell me to touch into, I'm actually refuting with actual CBT skills. Because CBT skills teach me that emotional reasoning teaches me that, hey, my emotional state actually isn't really always a good depictor of reality. And if I have heightened negative emotions specifically, and positive, we can make really bad decisions based on heightened positive emotion, but that don't happen as much in long-term recovery for me. But heightened negative emotion, I'm very stoic. I'm like, I'll feel it for a second. I'm like, keep the fuck moving. And the pushback we're in right now is like, you need to feel it more. And I'm like, no, I don't. There's no value in it other than the menial amount of self-reflection that I do. It's not like I don't feel it.
Yeah.
I just have no interest in sitting in it.
Right.
You know, because I think and I think this is like where sometimes people, it's funny, think I'm like anti-therapy. It's not that I'm anti-therapy, I'm anti-shitty therapy.
Yeah.
And I think most therapists are not too great.
Dude, my sister's a therapist, and she's a damn good therapist. And I argue with her on most things, but if she was a shitty therapist, I'd say it. She's a good therapist. She told me the other day, she said, this was after like the first week of November. There was something that happened that week. And she said, you will not believe it, Sam, that on these groups, she said, you wouldn't even believe it. She said, on a lot of Facebook groups of therapists, Facebook groups are like for therapists, for clinicians, she said they are losing their fucking mind, these clinicians. The people that we go to help us tap into our own resiliency and get strengths and tools and coping skills and all that shit are on these Facebook groups losing their fucking mind over the State of the Union. Losing their shit.
100%. I just realized what you were talking about too, because you said the first week of November, you're talking about the election.
And I'm not making it political. It's just like, hey, we're coming. People are sending their loved ones to you, to someone who's supposed to show resiliency, and you're showing up like this, losing your shit.
Yeah, to be frank, I'm happy you brought this up because I think it's actually inherently a flaw within the therapeutic system, which tends to lean left. And I think both sides are evil personally. We've had this conversation before. But what's interesting is I had a friend at a school here, Antioch, and this was when Trump was in office last round. And he goes, I'm in class with these people who are becoming therapists, and they're literally breaking down in tears because of a tweet Trump had sent out. And I said, well, that's a problem, not because like you interpret it a certain way, but what are you going to do when you have a person who comes in who's a staunch Trump supporter and is a really good human?
Yes.
Because the policy issues that most people are one policy issue, birthright or immigration or whatever it is. They don't like really know whatever that is what it is. But how you can blanket somebody as basically being a shit human because of who they voted for. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. There's this book by Jonathan Haidt, amazing social psychologist. And he talks about actually like people don't vote for people typically based on policy, actually. It's actually based on values.
Mm-hmm.
And conservative people tend to be like, we don't want help from other people. We want the government out of our lives. You need to pull yourself out up by your bootstraps. You need to no handouts. Whereas the perception is that where on the leaning left side, it's like, hey, government needs to be involved more. Like you're powerless over certain aspects of self. And I think obviously people got tired of that this election, and not to turn it into politics, but I think it's impossible to not talk about politics anymore. It's so heavily involved in every aspect of our existence. And I go, listen, at the end of the day, there's good people on both sides. The division shit is what needs to stop.
Yes.
And if you're a therapist who's losing your mind over the current administration, understandable. You're entitled to have that
Absolutely.
opinion. What you need to be doing, though, is reflecting and go, how is this going to impact my ability to help other people? Other people who are good people. There are good people who are Democrats, who are progressive liberals, and there's people who are good people who are like hardcore right-wing people. They're not horrible people. They just have views that you disagree with. And I think discourse is like, we just don't do that anymore, you know? And what I'll tell you this, I'm getting a little bit tangential, but like LA is very, like the perception it's very progressive liberal. I actually think majority of it is like moderate. But what I did is because I think I'm a little bit more like, we need to exercise agency in our life. I can't stand the government. The more I see about what they're spending money on and stuff like that, I just cannot stand the government. But what I did is out here, there's a lot of like what I would call woke groups. And I would go to these, a lot of them were Buddhist meditation or, you know, people of color. And I'd go to these meetings. And I would sit there. You know the best thing I learned, Sam? It was the best. I think more people need to do this. Is when I sit there, I realize I agree with 95%, maybe even 98%. There was always like maybe one or two things that I was like, nah. Like I remember one time they were like, we should completely abolish prisons and prisons should not exist. Listen, I think the prison industrial complex, putting drug addicts in jail for extended periods of time for weed. You got dudes sitting in prison for 40 years now for weed right now. Nonsense. Even cocaine, heroin. I think you should just actually decriminalize drugs, which is a controversial opinion, but like just basically destroy the drug trade.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm like, that was the only, I remember that one thing. I was like, no, I know some pretty horrible humans.
Yes.
And I've met people who need to be locked in a cage permanently
for the rest of their
existence. They should never
yes.
get out of jail. There are horrible rapists, child molesters, stuff like that. But outside of that, and that's only one experience, but I've sat in a lot of those meetings. I had a girlfriend who was Buddhist and went with her to a BIPOC meeting probably like 10 times, you know? And 95, 98% of the time, I was like, oh, I agree with everything these people are saying. We actually agree. And I don't view myself as like I said, I think when we were in the car, I was like, I think in California, I'm center right, but everywhere else in the country, I'm center left. Right. I just want to like build with people. You know what I mean? Like, I think politics are horrible just because of the division, you know?
There's a lot of parallels of what's going on in the political space and what's going on in the behavioral health space. There's a lot of parallels, I think.
Like?
Right now. There's a lot of wokeness in political space. That's, you know, like no brainer there. Like, shocker, Sam, how'd you come up with that one? But in the behavioral health space, there's a lot of woke shit that's just not really. It's just a lot of shit.
Yeah,
it's a lot of shit, man.
Yeah,
like, as we were talking a little bit in the car. A little nervous of stepping out here like this, but fuck it, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Fuck it, let's go.
What we have to remember, I've already been talking enough, but what we have to remember while we're talking is we care about people first.
Yes.
It's they're like, fuck the political thing. Because in my mind, as we're starting to talk, I'm like, oh, people are going to go see me and you talking about? Of course, two white men sitting there talking about. Again,
Fuck them.
what does that have to do with the points we're making, though?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And at the end of the day, like, I don't give a shit about anyone's color of their skin or what your gender is, trans. Like, I support everybody. I love fucking human beings. If you're a good human being, that's all I care about. So always, even when we're entering this space right here, I think the most important thing to know is you got love for you. If you're a good human, I don't give a shit about your political
I don't
beliefs.
care. Yeah, exactly.
Don't
man.
give a fuck.
I don't care color, what you do, nothing, man. I just want you to be well.
Yep.
Because when you're well, then the places that I visit are a little safer and a little more enjoyable for me and my family to walk around in. The sun shines a little bit brighter when your ass is well.
100%.
You know, so I just want people to be well. And maybe a result of that, if a few more people were to get well, we wouldn't have a lot of this nonsense bullshit back and forth going on that we have.
Yeah.
You know? So I just want people, I don't give a shit. I just want you to be well. But there are a lot of parallels, I think, in what's going on in the political space. An interesting time, man. Interesting time.
Very, very, very interesting.
And what's going on in behavioral health, and you see it spill over. As the one example of what I've just shared about, you know, the Facebook groups for clinicians and therapists, and some of the reactions, some of the bullshit, some of the lingo that we're using now. We can't say the word addict. What? Like, I don't feel right when I'm doing my content. I don't feel right. But also on the flip, like as you're saying, like I don't necessarily like the word addict myself. But don't fucking shame me if I use it. Yeah. Because right now on social media, it's a search word. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like trauma-informed care. Like the word substance use, he has an opioid use disorder. Right? That completely, like, I'm just firmly believe that a lot of the shit that's coming about is being organized and promoted in the field of behavioral health are the same people, or those people are in full agreement with how, and again, I'm not trying to make this political, are in full agreement and in full support of $50 million being sent to learn how to whatever the fuck in Nigeria or whatever the shit, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just, people are dying coming out of treatment centers and coming out of some of the nonsense that I see in this world and some of the belief systems. Yeah. They are. When I hear of someone say, and I've heard this on social media, say that you can't intervene on your loved one, that is cruel. We have to embrace where they are and acknowledge where they are and support where they are.
Drives me up the
They're the same. Walls. Yeah, it's the same shit.
It's insane.
Am I making sense here?
No, it makes 100%. It's nonsense. And just for all the viewers out there, if you're scrolling on TikTok, you are an addict. 100%. Right now, you have a dopaminergic axis in your brain that is firing off, causing you to sit and scroll and maybe sit on this shit too long. So at the end of the day, I call it like the war of words or labels. It's funny because I can't stand labels.
Why'd you snicker when I said the word addict? What was
that? Because
your producer over there laughed too.
No, because it's hilarious to me. You can't say that. And like at the end of the day, I agree with you. Like, oh, what? But you're a fucking addict, bro. That's okay. That doesn't mean you're going to be an addict forever. Right. Listen, I was a horrible human being. When I was 15, 16, 17 years old, I was doing home invasions, robbing drug dealers. Right. I was a piece of shit. I was a piece of shit human being. Yeah. I was a horrible, horrible human being. And the beauty of being a horrible human being and coming out the other side of it, I go, oh, that was a different iteration of Chris. Man, I actually wish I could have hung out with that kid now, which I get to do inadvertently through the community. Yeah. Like these young ass kids who are just pissed and da-da-da. I'm more direct with them because I needed a man around me to be like, yo, bro, you're the greatest source of all your problems. Your depression, your anxiety, all this shit you've been diagnosed with, the reason why you're struggling with a lot of that is really because of the way you live your life. And that's the element I'm talking about is your character, but even what stretches beyond that is your lifestyle. You don't eat well, you don't exercise, you hang out with people who have none of your best interest in mind. The women who you associate yourself with are borderline and toxic.
Yeah.
So when you go, oh, I have depression, anxiety, ADHD, I go, I think where we have to start is at home. And what I mean by home is what is internally going on with me, you know? And what do I have control over? Because the reason why I think one thing I always push back on, you probably seen content about it, but like I push back hardcore on one thing in 12 step. And it's not even really 12 step, it's really what the culture of AA has done to step 1, where powerlessness has been reframed to everything in my life. And I'm like, that's not what it says though. That is not what the book says.
Right.
It says powerless over alcohol. Powerless in my life has become unmanageable, and it's pertaining to alcohol or substances.
Yeah.
Right?
I've lost the power of choice based on my experiences have shown me that I've lost the power of choice in whether I pick up fucking alcohol or not, left to my own devices.
Yes. I think for me, where I twisted up, and this is like my own personal perception, but I have a really close friend who's like hardcore 12-step, but we both agree on this, is I think when you go through the 12-step process of recovery, it's actually empowering, and that power of choice, I have a choice. Like if I go out and get loaded today, there wasn't, my disease wasn't in the bush doing burpees, popped out and said, hey, here's a needle landed in your arm. You know what I mean? It's not going to work that. If I go get high on inception right now, clean, I'm making a choice.
Yes.
And that's not to say it's all a choice either, but choice does exist in there. Now, once the monkey's on my back and the circus is fully back in town, all bets are off.
Yeah.
I start moving differently, bro. I start robbing drug dealers. I start doing things that my character is no longer in question, because the character who I've created for my addiction doesn't care about other people.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Where the character I've created for me in recovery does care about people, does think about the well-being of others. Here's my homie Sam coming in town, and I'm like moving stuff around because I actually just want to hang out with you. And like, it's funny because even now we're having this conversation. There's no plan on it. There's nothing that we're just two people connecting.
Right.
That's it. Nothing. Yeah. There's no plan. You're like, what are we talking about? I don't know.
But we certainly are talking though, aren't we?
Big time.
This is great. It's a great experience.
It is. Yeah, no, I love, it's interesting because he was the one, Woody, I'll give Woody a shout out right now. He was like, you got to do a pod, bro. You got to do a pod. We can't even get the videos uploaded on YouTube right now. But
you got him in the hold though, right?
He's got like 4 of them now.
Yeah.
He's got 4.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now I go, I'm just going to talk to people. Like we're bouncing from topic to topic, and it's happening organically. We're like, oh, trauma, the industry, da-da-da-da-da. And it plays out so organically because it's not, I just can't do anything canned. I think you're the same way. I think it was one of the first things where when we talked is like, if it's too packaged in a certain way, I'm never going to be able to be a part of it or support it, because I feel like I'm the gift of, all right, digress, take one step back. The gift of social media is, this is a theory, half-cock theory that I have. Social media speeds up time, I think. Like, you get older faster. Like the conversation where you're like, hey, Chris, I can't set up all this shit, bro. I got to get like my kid. Like, because it's growing so fast, to learn all this, you can't. So even when you're young, you're getting older faster because the technology is moving so quickly.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
But I think in some weird respect, like, it's also accelerating my I don't give a shit gene. And it's not that I came up with this in China. I was with my homies one time. And it's not that I don't give a shit. I just don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm with you.
Like I genuinely care about not impacting people in a negative way, but I don't care in a manner where I'm going to squelch out my own voice in a, like, I'm not disrespectful, but I'll push back and engage in discourse with people, mainly because I want to refine my own ideas. I don't want to be, if I'm off about something and we have a disagreement in terms of how we perceive something, I might want to tell you how I disagree with it, because maybe you might help me see something in a different way.
Exactly.
But that's gone. You can't do that shit now.
Mm-hmm.
You can with certain people, but you better know your audience.
Yes.
Big time.
Yes.
Because you could basically, and I think one other thing I'll tap on was with social media, and I don't know if you went through this. We talked about it a minute when we were on our way over here as well too, but I remember when I first started doing this, there'd be consultants, there'd be therapists who I'd see, like, you start looking who follows every now and then, and I'd be like, ooh, I don't know if I don't know if I want them to see like what this might be bad for business. And what was real, what finally happened for some, at some point I was like, number one, I realized half the people I was concerned about, I don't do business with anyways.
Right.
Never have done business with them anyways. And number two, if I'm not concerned about them and we were to work together with a client, it probably wouldn't work because philosophically we're not aligned. Like, I'm not a part of this over medicalized version of treatment where you need to be diagnosed, everyone needs to be put on meds, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I think some people need to be on meds. I think most people who are on antidepressants or ADHD meds are very lost. Mm-hmm. And part of it is their indoctrination into the medical system. But at the end of the day, if you're going to go do that, go do it.
Right.
It is what it is.
Right.
I'm also not going to speak to it.
Right.
You know, especially if I see it holding people back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would I not? It's not because of my own ego. At the end of the day, more often than not, people push back against it. You know, it actually is like some weird type of freedom that I found in this, where it's like, hey, I might be an outlier, but at least like when I cross over the Great Divide, I'm going to know I owned my shit majority of my life.
Yes.
Because I sold out so much before.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
to hang around with gang members. When I did home invasions, I wasn't doing home invasions because I was hard. I was doing home invasions because I was rolling with people who were gnarly motherfuckers
Right.
that I looked up to and felt like becoming a man meant that I had to abuse other men.
Yeah.
Like crazy. It's just so nuts thinking about it, you know?
And where'd that come from?
I mean,
what'd you see?
Yeah. It was the peer group, the guys who were older than me. My dad wasn't around. My dad's actually pretty solid, to be frank. He just went to prison for selling weed in Alabama. Mm-hmm. He was like trafficking it from here to Alabama. Went to prison,
it's
federal
a bad state
prison.
To get caught in.
Yeah, bad. But he went to federal prison because he was going across state lines. And then I think the guys who I grew up around, SFV, San Fernando Valley, that's like a huge prison gang. Everyone who went into prison came out of prison. They had drugs, money, women. It looked like the rite of passage into manhood was prison.
Right.
When you don't know anything else like that. And it's crazy because even when I talk about this, I'm like, God, if we're going to end up posting this or something like that, I'm like, I can't believe that was like my perspective. Like, it's so far removed from who I am. 16 years ago, I got in recovery, and I probably held on to that for maybe the first 9 months to a year. And then I was like, dude, I'm going to be a loser the rest of my life, you know? And listen, some of these guys who went to prison, to me, were good people, but they weren't really good people. They were good to me,
right?
But they were gnarly human beings. Yeah. Like, some of these guys have like done heinous crimes to other human beings and are never getting out of prison.
Right.
And I think for me, it was like this real understanding that, like, I think that's probably why I do what I do the way I do it, is because I think I was looking for that. And I think that's why I'm so direct with the young men I am. Also, my mentor was that way. So I think obviously I would imbue that into other people as a result of it being imbued in me. But I also didn't respect people who were pushovers. But being able to contend in the world, and I don't mean physically either. I mean psychologically, emotionally, having emotional intelligence, being able to read humans' nonverbal communication. Are we in this? Like, there was a lot of things no one ever even talks about that I picked up on the streets that I was like, well, even all this lying and manipulation stuff actually ended up really helpful in terms of like, probably for you doing interventions.
Absolutely.
You could read the guy. You're like, and granted, you're not always right on it, but you know something's going on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And you be able to blend. You got to be able to blend. I mean, you know, as a part of every single one of us, we had to be a chameleon. Out there in the streets, we did. And in this field, when we're plying our trade, I know when I am, you know, with families, I got to be able to connect.
100%.
You know?
Well, I think that's the gift. Remember what we're talking about in the car over. I keep bringing up everything we're talking about in the car.
That was a great conversation.
We had
Right out of the gate.
We should have had cameras on in the car.
Yeah.
But was like, I always laugh about that line in the Big Book where it's like, we are people who normally would not mix. Because I was like, what do you mean people who we normally wouldn't mix with? I was shooting dope on San Julian. I was up in the Hollywood Hills snorting cocaine with people. Like, I mix with everyone when I'm on drugs. I am a social butterfly. And in all actuality, in recovery, I'm the same way. You know? I also think part of that is, I don't even know if I've ever told you, my mom's black.
No, I had no idea.
So no one, like my birth mother, I say my birth mother not to placate to the current generational stuff. I say it because people are like, oh, you were adopted or something. No, like my mom is black. Like I'm 15% African American. And I think part of it was I grew up around black people my whole life. So I don't have like, they're just like, I get around black. I actually love being around black people. It's funny. I'm making like a broad generalization, but every time I'm around them, like there's just the cultures, like in general, I'm making a broad generalization because I also don't feel like it's a fair generalization because LA is way different than when I was in Atlanta. Like Atlanta was like, I love it out there. The South, African Americans, they just hit differently, more welcoming. Like there's a guy that I met and me and him just rap out on TikTok, my homie Jug. He's like the coolest dude ever. And we have like these conversations. And I realized that luckily I had an upbringing that like bridged the gap to where like I don't, like it's funny because I got shit for a post where I was like, I'm colorblind. I honestly, bro, I had no clue that was offensive.
Colorblind?
Oh yeah, if you say you're colorblind right now, if you're colorblind right now, you're especially as a white male saying you're colorblind, like that's like a no-fly zone. But I was like, well,
who makes these rules? When did this happen, and why am I not getting updates?
It's on the
and text
internet.
On it?
They're not really. What I realized, this is actually a perfect thing that I realized, is it's not real in the real world, but on the internet there's these rules. No. Like I think even when we talk about wokeness and division, ain't even a real thing, man. Yeah. I think it's a thing that exists on the internet, and there's people who buy into these ideologies, but I know people who would be deemed woke that I work with in the field, and when you have rational conversations with them, they're not woke. Yeah. They're not woke. They're actually pretty moderate. And I think it's one of these things where because we're sitting, scrolling, you're like, oh, this woke virus. And then look, you go into like a therapist Facebook group and it's exploding. Yeah, but it's exploding in there. It's a self-perpetuating system. But when you go out into the world, I don't confront, I don't find it. Yeah. I don't see it anywhere. Right. I don't find people who go, oh, you can say that because you're a white male or you have white privilege. And in my mind, it's funny. You're gonna laugh about this. So because of my upbringing, I have a brother who's 10 years older than me, and my brother has a different father who's Filipino. Rest in peace. His dad just died like last year, and my brother phenotypically looks African American, but my brother's God to me. Like 10 years older than me when I was a kid coming up. And he always would say, you're black. You're black. Because there was so much shame. My grandma was in Oklahoma. She left Oklahoma to come out here because it was middle segregation. You understand? Like, different time. And you're from the South, so you understand it better than most people. So she comes out here. So the narrative was always, like, when I went to school, people always called me half black. Oreo. I was always... And every time I went to school, this was, mind you, you have to, this weird thing to think about because of the current social context. But every time I checked a box when I went to school, I always checked African American. Up until 2016 or 18. After that, I just stopped because the social context started to change. I was like, I'm phenotypically white. I look like a skinhead. Like, this is probably going to be offensive to some people. But what's ironic is that when I was in 2012, I was transferring to UCLA and I won the Outstanding Black Collegian Award at Santa Monica College. It was me and 4 other people. One of the other guys was like my homie. And what's weird...
What was it, the Outstanding Black Achievement?
Yeah, but it was called the Sidney Godfarb Outstanding Black Collegian Award. I applied for it. I crushed it at school. Right. And there were 4 people who won it. 3 of them were visibly African American, and then I won.
Then you... And you know what? Like, I had no clue until you just told me But when you told me, and I looked at your
The
skin
features?
tone, I can
The
see
features.
it. Now.
All right, I got the
But
features.
being up on stage, I can imagine, like, if I didn't know you, I just thought you're just a regular white dude, man. How the hell did he win? What's he doing up there? How'd he win? He's a
What's
white
funny is my other homie. He ended up becoming a cop. He was busting up laughing because you could see the other two people who won the award were like, "What the fuck is
guy.
this?
What's he doing up
What's
here?
he doing this?" But you want to know the irony of it? When I went up and took that award, they embraced me and was like it wasn't. It's weird because I think about if I would have taken it in the current social context, would I have been embraced the way that I was in 2014? Because no one said anything like that. And again, even when I talk about those two other people there, that's my perception of them. My boy was busting up laughing because it was like just from like a visual standpoint.
Yeah, that's all I'm laughing about.
I actually repost the video on Facebook. There's a picture I repost it every time it pops up of me shaking the guy's hand. Next time it posts up, I'm gonna tag you in it just so you see it. But it's weird because my whole life that was my identity. I don't like at the end of the day, and it kind of raised weird questions for me because like that is like what I was. That it's a part of me. Is it the majority of me? No. I think when I did the DNA testing, I'm like 15% African American. But my whole identity growing up was half black. That's what people used to call me, Oreo, half black, and I've always been embraced by African American culture. It's like the weirdest. Like I get around black people and I'm like, this is like, it feels like home. It's weird, you know?
Right.
I don't know how we got onto that.
You know, man, I grew up. I mean, I thank God for the way addiction shifted my belief system, and it was a belief system that was just kind of passed down. I remember when I was a kid. I grew up in southern rural Virginia. And generations on the same piece of land. How history is. And, man, when I was a kid, I grew up on a very, country road. I was related to just about everybody on the road. But we had, African Americans that lived in the community as well, right? But it tended to be, they lived in their area, They lived on they would have a section of the road, it seemed like, and that's where their houses would go, and then, white people around them and all. And I used to play with a little African American boy's name was Lee. And he and I played. This was before, I'm 5 years old, 6 years old.
You don't know. You're
colorblind.
colorblind.
You don't know anything, man, nothing.
You're colorblind.
But as I age, I start, and look, man, I love my grandpa. I love my dad. They were just doing what they knew and what they were taught and what was passed down to them.
Misinformed by misinformed
Absolutely,
people.
man. And I remember the men that worked at the mill had to ride in the back of the truck. My grandpa would pick them up. They had to ride in the back of the truck. I woke up a lot of Saturday mornings to my dad walking down the hall, stomping down the hall, running the logging crew off of his porch because they gotten paid on Friday and squandered it all away, and on Saturday morning they wanted to come borrow money from Daddy. Running them off of his porch and then mumbling under his tongue or mumbling as he's walking back down the hall. I'd pick up on the mumbling of what he was saying. Wasn't very kind.
Of course.
So I had this belief system, and I look back on that, I'm going, what the fuck? But then it's like, because I love history too. I'm a student of history. I love Civil War history. I love any type of history. So that's kind of where I go with this as well, is that, I was conditioned that African Americans were, and it wasn't like we have to teach Sam this, we have to do. It was just what they knew. It was what we knew. And that they were less intelligent, that we had to take care of them. And then enters crack cocaine, where I smoked my first hit of crack cocaine, and then I start, getting more immersed into that, the crack world. Where I was from, everybody's this sold crack was black, and I'd get in with them, and I'd hang out with them, and man, we would, even when I wasn't buying crack or smoking crack, we were hanging out, and I start to see that.
Same.
Holy shit, man, they have Thanksgiving dinner too. wait a minute, this woman is talking some really intelligent shit. They are blowing my socks off with this conversation here right now. Right? They had family meals, they had jobs, they had concerns, they had everything that I had. And I'm 28 years old at this point, just coming to this realization that things that I was told were not so. And generation after generation was told these things. So, man, where I've come from to where I am now with that has been night and day.
Yeah, you know? I'm sure.
But you talking about the African American culture, man. Like, I have never laughed my ass off and felt more comfortable and welcome than I have at a black family's barbecue or at the Grange, down at the Grange, or working in the tobacco field. I worked right along. It was no color in the tobacco field. I mean, we were all suffering.
Yep.
All 100%. Hoeing and suffering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hope I didn't go way off on that.
No,
I'm
not at all.
It's I just find it interesting whenever you're from a different culture. I'm from a different culture. Yet we are kindred spirits, I believe.
100%.
And we've had all of the experiences that I've had and all the experiences that you had, which were so vastly different yet so similar.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I was just thinking about like what you're talking about. I think of drugs as like the great equalizer in some respects, and like there's so much negativity and pain and trauma. I always laugh when I hear people in meetings, like my best day using was whatever, what thing I'm talking about. I don't even know how they say it.
Yeah, my worst day sober is better than my best day using.
And I'm like, you weren't doing it right, bro.
Right.
Like I will not, and this is not an endorsement of people going out and using drugs, some of the best times in my life on drugs. I would not even discredit that. Problem is the byproduct and the tax that I pay for later isn't usually worth it. But when you're talking, I was thinking about when I grew up in Burbank, we had it became like a whole, I feel like it was kind of like a race war. It was like the whites, the African Americans, and the Hispanics versus the Armenians. This was like a whole thing. It was like on the news when we were
all there. Y'all ganged up on the Armenians.
It was against the Armenians. Yeah, we were all everyone. It was whatever was going on when we were in high school. Who knows? I mean, they shut down the school. It was in the newspaper. It was insane, and it was funny because that was maybe in 10th grade. It was 10th grade. 10th grade year was insane. We were setting trash cans on fire, assaulting security guards, and it was funny because the whites, the African Americans, and Hispanics, we all did drugs together. We were all homies. And it was we all just banded together, and it was funny because we had that whole year of that, and then a bunch of us got thrown out, disbanded, sent to different schools. And then by the time senior year, 11th grade year was an airing out process. By the time senior year came around, all of us were doing drugs together. We had no more problems. We were either selling drugs to each other or doing drugs with
the Armenians.
With the Armenians.
Right.
I love Armenian people, bro. Culturally, they're fucking phenomenal human beings. I think like one of the missing elements, I think it exists a little bit more in the South where family is like a big thing that doesn't exist in like these major metropolis areas. This individualistic American culture thing is I think a cancer. Personally, part of American identity. I also see the value in it in some respects because when you do interventions on collectivist cultures and like these families where the family system's so enmeshed, it makes it so difficult because of the enabling. But I think culturally, there's a beautiful thing that happens in these collectivist cultures where like the family system is just, bro, rock solid. And I think it's when I was out in the South, I felt it differently than I did here. There is a thing probably in smaller towns and stuff like that where the bond collectively is much stronger than it is in like these type of areas.
Dude, my girlfriend just had she's more rural than I am. And man, their family is, and even where I'm from, like you're right. The South is different as a culture with the family 100%. Bond. But I'll tell you what even smokes that is my son was playing football, and we would have the practice field. We'd have to share half the football field with the soccer players, with the soccer league, who was mostly Hispanic. So we had half the bleachers were for the Gordon Patriots, the Chesterfield County Football League, bunch of American families, right? And then on the other end of the bleachers is the Hispanic families that are there for the practice. And I stood back and I watched because I love Hispanic culture. I love Hispanic culture. You're not going to find a happier group of people and a more loving and festive group of people on this fucking planet.
Yeah.
Man, I love the culture. Just love it. And I'm standing back and I'm watching and I'm going, that's fucking family. The whole family is watching soccer practice. They got their, they got drinks, they got picnic baskets, they're throwing frisbee, the ones that aren't like they're engaged, they're loving one another, they're there together at that as a family. And I looked at the bleachers where we were. A couple moms sitting there scrolling on their phone, a couple guys just sitting there looking.
Disease.
Night and day difference, man. Night and day. Night and day.
It is.
I don't know where we were going with that, but
no, we're just talking about I think culture. At the end of the day, I think we're bouncing all over the place.
How much shit do you think we're gonna get for this? Probably not much. We were tactful, right?
No, I mean, listen. Here's the deal. If we get some shit, I actually think it's probably good either way. At the end of the day, the hope is that when people watch the content, for the most part, understand that like our interest is in the betterment of like the human condition. It's not about like, we're talking about realities of like growing up, our own upbringing with racial differences, drug addiction. Like those are just real things.
It's
and
life,
like,
man.
if you can't, I'm just like not going to talk about it anymore. You know what I mean? And I also feel like we're at the beginning. Well, for sure the pendulum shift is happening right now, whether anyone wants it to happen or not. I mean, it just is what it is. But I think here's what it is. Like, let's just use treatment space to like venture away from politics for a second. The first treatment program was Synanon. People who are therapists, all this shit, don't even know what that is. They might watch a documentary. And Synanon will be demonized because of what it became. But what Synanon started out was an absolutely beautiful, beautiful thing.
What was the difference?
What it ended up becoming?
Yeah. It
became a full-blown cult. They weren't even letting, it became a multinational organization. And it was like hardcore shame-based.
Yeah, sure.
Hardcore shame-based.
Yeah.
And
but what was it before?
It was just a social model. It was Chuck Diedrich was in AA.
Yeah.
And AA was like open arms, but AA was still.
He's in prison now, right?
No, he died.
Or did he die in prison?
No, he died up in like a trailer park in northern Sacramento or something like that.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, the documentary is on HBO. It's worth watching either way. But he died drunk too. He was like a straight alcoholic. And the truth is his wife was probably the one who you could credit for the growth of Synanon, because once she died, he basically started telling people, you need to get divorced and marry this person. It became real fucking crazy. I mean, here, at the end of the day, the stuff we're talking about can be interpreted in a very negative way if you're anchored that way. You can take what we're saying and go, oh, these guys, was that nicotine?
No,
I thought it was nicotine. I was like, no, because now they have like the sprays. No, I'm good.
It's like a
yeah,
like a blast.
Yeah. Wake up. Anything on social media at any time can be interpreted in a certain way. I just don't. People who know me. People who follow me know, or at least have an idea of like what I'm trying to do, what you're trying to do when we're working with people. At the end of the day, like, I'm not a politician. Fuck politicians.
Yeah.
I'm not down with dividing people based on race, sex, class, color, any of that stuff. And if you take something that I say and go, you're a racist or whatever, that's you.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with me. I can talk about my previous experience in a way, but the truth is like, I know me at the end of the day. I'm good with me. Go, and honestly, if you hate me, please comment more.
Right. Drives
please,
the algorithm.
please comment as much as you want about how much you hate my guts.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just, whatever. We have weird upbringings. I did crazy shit. Like we're all changing. How many different iterations of Sam Davis has there been?
God, man. On the, like I love every bit of it too.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not going to be the same person next year that I was this year.
God willing.
I have different beliefs around addiction that I had 3 years ago.
I know.
And a lot of that is due to things that I take in on social media, some different perspectives. You know, like there was a girl, I watched her the other night. She put up a clip. She said, you know, I had to get out of the 12-step indoctrination and the 12-step stuff, and it was harming me, and it was harmful to me. I know that 2 years ago, I would have been offended by that. I would have been like, because that saved my life, the 12 steps. I have to defend that at all costs. But I can see there's some validity to what she's saying. I can get down with some of what she's saying. Not that I know better that it's the principles of the 12 steps. There's not a damn thing wrong with them.
100%.
They're
universal.
Universal,
yeah.
Right? There's a shit ton wrong with the fellowship.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of toxicity in the fellowship. So I get that. You know, when I first sobered up, I was heavy 12-step, man. It saved my life. It changed my life. Doors were opening up. And I still love the 12 steps and I'm a member of the 12-step fellowship. But I can see where, hey, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. I can get it. I get it. Like just my beliefs on addiction, you know, like they're saying it's a brain disease. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be. That it's a brain disease. Well, man, or that it's genetic. Okay, it's genetic. You know, you show me a case of a family where they got 4 generations of every male in the family, or every female in the family is alcoholic or addicted. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But also, if you dig a little deeper, that they have generational, just horrible generational trauma from generation after generation after generation after generation. So which is it? They say, and I've said that I lean heavy on the trauma is a result of a lot of our issues around the world and in this nation is a direct result of generational trauma. I'm a firm believer in that, but I also believe that it's not all trauma that causes drug addiction.
Yep.
It's not. There's just like, and also, all right, the disease of addiction, it's a brain disease. Okay. But that dude that I saw that weighed about, it had to be 550, walk into the Golden Skillet the other day and get a bucket of chicken and go back into the back corner and devour it. Right. I mean, who rolled in at 550, right? And that's conservative. Right. And he had biscuits and mashed potatoes, the gravy, all of it, just throwing it down, right? He's doing that shit for the same reason, maybe not the identical same reason, but to soothe himself, the same reason that I was smoking crack cocaine. Are you calling his a brain disease? I mean, I've seen guys that had TBIs that they'll never have impulse control again. You could send them to 20, 30-day programs. You could do all the trauma work you wanted to them. They're never going to be able to handle it.
Line it up, yeah. They can't line it up anymore.
You know, and I don't really know where I was going on this rant, but I mean, like, my mind has opened up. Just through experience of working in the field is a lot of it, but being open to other people that are putting stuff out on social and giving me different perspectives. I would have never thought in a million years that I'd ever say that there are people that have burnt their life to the ground and 12 steps saved their life, and then they went on about their life and sociably drank. Or sociably smoked marijuana productively. Yeah. But they do.
I know, it's a heavy one.
They do.
I know, it's crazy.
You know?
It's one of those things, dude, where you like, it's hard because I think about it because like working with the guys in the house and it's like a little bit more focused on like behavioral modification. And I've even changed the narrative there. I'm like, listen, if you're in a program like this, you need to give yourself 5 years.
Yeah.
Because you're number one, your parents are floating everything for you. You're not self-sustaining. I know you have reservations, especially if you're 19 or 20 or something like that. Build a life that you can sustain. And then if you decide you want to make that choice, make the choice. And which is, bro, if I heard someone say that in my first 5 years, I'd be like, you're a cancer.
You're killing him.
Yep.
You're killing him.
Yeah. I would have been like, you're a cancer. I also go, I was going to ask you this question. When do you think you should start sponsoring people?
Myself, depends on if you look. All right, my idea of sponsoring people,
taking people through the book.
I'm cool with it as soon as I've done my steps.
Which is interesting, though, because that's not what the 12-step process was built on. And that reason why I asked you that is even when they talk about if you read the book, work is never mentioned without others. It's always mentioned with others. Working a program is about working with others. And AA, how it started, grassroots, was you were reading that book if you had a fucking day sober. That's where sponsorship came from. And it's interesting and listen, I've bought into that. We just shifted it maybe 3 years ago where we're like, we have guys 2 days in the house, bro. You're taking someone through the book.
Taking another guy through the book.
You're taking them through the book. And here's the deal. If you're on page 4, every day you can take someone through 4 pages of the book.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because my whole recovery has been exactly what you said.
After you finish the steps, take somebody through the work.
But that wasn't what the whole process was built on. And I think like the more I've been around and I go, because here, I also think the treatment industry has destroyed AA. Because a lot of people associate AA with treatment because treatment centers just drop dudes off at meetings and go, well, go do this.
Dude, at Austin, Texas, when I sobered up in Austin, a place called Burning Tree for the reluctant to recover.
Oh, you went through Burning Tree.
Yeah, so I mean, we
Steel on Steel.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing as the house.
Yeah. As you know, we were instructed and expected that when a new guy came in, we meet with him.
Mm-hmm.
We get in, we hear his story. We want to share his story. So I was taught that, but in the rooms of when I got out,
it's changed.
Like, once they finish with the work, you go.
It's changed.
You go through.
That's not the work, though.
But treatment, the fellows, the community. There's pockets of really solid recovery around the country.
True.
Really solid, like pure message, that pure shit, right? That boom boom, you know. And Austin was one of those. The message was pure, solid. You should go in inspired when you come out. Raw. And since a bunch of treatment has come into Austin, Texas over the last 15 years, the message is different.
Yeah.
You go into the rooms, it's different shit. It's just, it's watered down, middle of the road bullshit in a lot of places there.
Well, I also I was thinking about this earlier. It's like, it's funny because the medical model is like the predominant doctrine of recovery now. And I think there's a place for it, you know, like even in the book, it talks about we don't have a monopoly on this. But I think what people fail to remember is that the medical model didn't do shit to get us into recovery. Actually, the only thing that worked, and granted, I think alcoholism was a lot different when AA was at its springboard. Like alcoholics were alcoholics. Like now, how many times am I doing interventions or I have guys that come in where I'm like, that's a real dope fiend or gnarly alcoholic. It's not the same.
Right.
It really isn't.
Right.
That's the truth. At the time when that was happening, these people were destined to die.
Yes.
And then, actually, when we were talking right before you got up, the reason how Synanon started.
I'm sorry.
No. It's all good. It's perfect because it segued in perfectly either way because we ended up back here.
Just put in some more editing work for his.
No. He'll just tie it in anyway. When Synanon started, Chuck Diedrich was in AA. But what he didn't like is keep coming back. He basically was like, there's no fucking accountability here. This is nonsense. What do you mean keep coming back? This guy's fucking destroying his family and da-da-da-da. Because back then, like I said, alcoholics were bottomed out. Alcoholics. And then no one could do anything for heroin addicts. And that's where he created Steel on Steel doesn't exist without Synanon.
Really?
Oh, no. Sid, that is... They called that the game in Synanon. It does not exist. Steel on Steel is a direct descendant from Synanon.
No way.
100%.
Really?
There's no question about it. because you're in the hot seat.
Yeah.
So what do? You sit up there in that
Yeah.
seat, and then everyone, when you do X, I feel dot, dot,
Ooh,
dot,
and there's
dot,
people
dot.
right now, they're going to be watching this,
Yeah.
clinicians and all, are it's going, that's so wrong.
Yeah, well, this is what I've learned, is we've got into this iteration of therapy, which I think is going to shift, and I think we're in like the first iteration of it shifting, because what's working isn't working.
Right.
But there's this idea of like, you can't feel negative emotion. You can't, like, self-disgust, shame, guilt is bad. And it's not.
Right.
My mentor was an evolutionary psychologist. We evolved shame because we lived in social groups. And if, I went and stole your chickens and the group dynamic found out about it, I would get thrown out of the group.
Yeah.
And I would be dead.
Yeah.
Because social survival was highly dependent on each other.
Yeah.
It's not like now where we live in the future and you can live on your own and sustain and do very well alone.
Yeah.
And we were highly interdependent people. So I'm a big believer in, my demographic, not always, and I think it's shifted, even when they're primary mental health sometimes. These guys, some of them, not all of them, are completely shameless. They don't care how they impact their family. They don't. And the conversation I will have with them might feel a little cutting or bruising because no one else is having the conversation. But the irony is everyone is non-verbally engaging in the way with them, the way that I'm having the conversation. They push them away. They cut them off. They don't want to have, they engage in avoidance behavior. I'm just going, hey, bro, we got a kid in the house right now, comes in third day, goes steals shit from the 7-Eleven while they're in there. I go check it out. I drive over to the house on my weekend off, and I go in the office. I go check it out, bro. He was kicked out of 2 other programs for saying racial slurs and all this other shit. I like this kid though, because it's not like the racist shit he's saying. It's not that he's racist. He just says shit to be a provocateur and fucking fuck with people and get thrown out of the program.
Yeah.
I like him, bro. He's just like a little fucking, like he's got a mouth on him. I had a mouth on me. There's something about him. I just really genuinely like this kid. And he steals this shit. And I go to the house. I go, listen, brother. I'm like this. I'm leaning towards him. I go, I'm imploring you to not go down this route. Your life here will be miserable. I don't want to do that though with you, because we're going to hold you accountable here. And this is going to be a small world for you, dude. Like, it's going to be really, really uncomfortable as a result of your behavior. And I have to do that because the world I'm preparing you for doesn't care about your feelings. They don't care about why you do what you do when you do it, despite what you see on social media and stuff like that. Generally, people don't care. Not because people are evil, but because people have their own lives. Life's hard. We have all our own responsibilities and stuff to take care of. And if you're going to be the type of person you are right now, where your character in some respects is repulsive, it is. But you're capable of changing that. I see the power in you of changing that. And it's weird because I feel like I've got the hack now. Like, in terms of, I have to kind of tell you your character is repulsive. I also have to remind you that you're more than capable of changing. You're a strong person. Like, you're a piece of shit right now. You're not always going to be a piece of shit. You have to own the fact, though, that you are kind of a shitty human being right now in order to transcend being a shitty human being. Because if you don't have self-disgust with the behavior that you're engaging in right now, either you're a sociopath and you're not.
Right.
Or you're completely delusional and, like, you're going to have a very uncomfortable life. You're not going to have an intimate partner that's worth the salt of keeping. You might have a highly dysfunctional relationship. And if I don't have this conversation, I just have to have the conversation to prepare you for the world you're going into inevitably anyways. And if you want to be pissed off at me about that, that is what it is. I have actually a lot of care and love for you as a human being. I just don't want to see you go through that. And I've learned just to have those conversations with guys it's weird because we're in like a state where like people are like, oh, like that would be considered shaming.
Yeah, I don't, and those people that are saying that is shaming, and I understand where you're that who you're speaking of, and when they're the way I see it, truth is love, right? You're showing love when you're speaking honestly, and to hold them accountable and challenge them, because I was brought up, like I said, I brought up in Burning Tree. I was, I was reborn in that
What year did
atmosphere,
you
in
go
that
through
community, 09.
Oh, bro.
You know, and I was at the
You were
lodge
at
the whole
Burning
time.
Tree.
Yeah, I was at Burning Tree.
Burning Tree.
Yeah, I was at Burning
was
Tree, the
Mark
lodge.
still around at that time?
Mark Schottinger?
No, what was the guy's name? The main guy who the program was, who started it? Wasn't his
David
name?
Elliott?
No, wasn't the main guy's Mark something?
Oh, no, David Elliott started it, but Mark
You know who I'm talking
Mark
about.
Houston.
Mark Houston, that's
Mark
who it
Houston.
was.
No, he had died when he died the February of 10.
So right,
I was
he
still
was
in
on his
Burning
way
Tree.
out
Yeah,
while you were there.
he had Mark Houston, BRC Mark Houston when I was in Burning Tree.
Okay.
But when we hold them
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I was crossing over Burning Tree and BRC. Yeah.
Mark Houston was like Burning Tree, just not as long of a stay. But they told me, like, they held me accountable. And I could tell that the reason they were doing was not to shame me because they were getting some joy out of that. There's a difference. Is that what they were really telling me, and I latched on to and understood very quickly, is they were not willing to accept that was the best I had to give.
100%.
They weren't willing to settle that was the best Sam was going to do.
100%.
And every treatment center I went in prior to that with my bullshit, and they coddled it or they co-signed it, they were really saying, when they were scared to step on my toes, when they were scared to upset my apple cart, when they were scared to upset the delicate genius, right? What they were really saying is that we're going to settle that this is the best that this human is going to produce.
100%.
So when you hold me, when I'm going to go in there tomorrow with that intervention, I'm going to tell the guy the truth in a compassionate way.
Yep.
I have to build some rapport with him. I have to connect with him. But I'm also going to have to share some truth
100%.
that is going to be very uncomfortable. And I am solid in doing that because I know in my soul, I know that man is destined for greatness, and I am unwilling to settle that that's the best he has to muster just to keep from hurting his fucking feelings.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And anything counter to that is really harming people.
Yeah, it's just a weird space. It's just a weird space.
I didn't mean to get all preachy and shit, but I mean, that's...
You should get preachy.
You know, it's like...
I don't think it's preachy. I think there's a difference between being preachy and being passionate about something, and having like a transcendent experience through a real social model. I mean, Burning Tree, especially in 09, was much more social model than it was clinical. It shifted dramatically. But the truth is like that's where it all started, you know? And I honestly feel like what was, you tell me if you disagree with this, and feel free to tell me if you disagree with it, but what made it more effective was the fact that it was your peers were the ones who were cracking you. Because, you know, you can't go, you're being paid to be here, you have a vested interest in keeping me here. Like, none of that, all the excuses that our brains make up as when we're caught in active addiction or enabling or whatever it is, those don't exist. The guy who's next to you is like, I'm not co-signing your shit, because actually I'm getting better as a result of this, and I could see in you me.
Yeah.
And I think that is what has actually been lost by this over clinical model.
Yeah.
Like,
they would lose their minds if they would sit in circle with us one day back in the day at Burning Tree. Each one of us, I couldn't do my job today. I couldn't be as straightforward. If I hadn't have gone through that program. There's 100%. No fucking way.
Yeah, 100%.
We had to do 3 confrontations. Each one of us, an average community of averaging about 20 people. Each one of us had to do 3 confrontations. Not to the same person. I went out, man, look, every treatment center I went to, I was looking for a girl when I went in the door, right? Because I had to have something to distract me and make my time be a little easier, right? They saw me coming, put me on a no female contact contract for 7 months. Right, I was left with me. I disrupted the community when I did that. When I took that, when me and that girl went out, I put her life at risk. I was very selfish. I wasn't thinking about the community, and they sat me down, and like the community confronted me. They didn't be like, "You suck. Why are you doing that?" But my boy, like my boy, my roommate, right? It was 4 of them in a room. When he sat there and he said, and he stated the behavior, he said, I felt such and such. It wasn't only holding me accountable and telling me some truth. I knew it wasn't from a clinician. It was from my peer.
Yep.
Right? It was helping him hold people accountable. Because he was really saving my life. Does that make sense?
100%. To me, it makes all the sense. I think actually what a lot of families don't understand is like some of these treatment centers your kid goes to, I think also it might be worse in teen treatment too, is like your kid might go in that treatment center and come out worse based on the culture that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's because, listen, do we need Burning Tree level now? Because 09, that's when I actually went through the program I went through. And 09, this treatment, as you know it today, did not exist at all, not even close. Like the only people who worked in this were doing God's work. There was money in it if you were there, but there wasn't really money in it.
Right.
There was no insurance money. There was none of that.
Right.
Not on this scale. And I think
Burning Tree was losing money every year.
Yes.
That is
God's work
every year. Yeah.
God's work.
Yeah.
And I think what shifted is everything is like clinical notes, and like a lot of times these places don't regulate the social community.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no philosophy injected into the community is really what it boils down to. Here's a workbook, You might be lucky and have like a facilitator like you, me, someone who's like comes in and drops knowledge, but that's not injected to everyone who works
it's not
within
a daily
the populace.
That's an outlier. Yeah, man. I'm watching these. I was brought in to help establish that we really intervened on a treatment team from maintenance all the way up. My colleague and I, because they just weren't united. They got all their applicants off of Indeed, and
they don't know
it was a fucking holy smokes, dude. It was hell. So we intervened on when I went in, and we had from maintenance to nursing to the executive director. We asked every single person on that team, it was a big team, what is addiction? The simple question, what is addiction? Holy shit, you'd have been blown away at some of the responses, which was a majority of. It came down to they didn't fucking know. They didn't know. But we're watching. I'd walk the floor because I like walking the floor. I like being in there.
Feeling the energy.
Yeah,
too.
feeling it. There's a lot of bad energy. But they're in these groups, man. They're just getting lectured to, and they're in there for like an hour. And some of this just sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, man. And I'm watching it. I'm going, hey, man, we've got limited time here. These guys have 28 days here. At most. Well, we don't have an hour to fucking waste with this nonsense so you can get reimbursed from the insurance. You can get the signatures from them to show that they were in group. Look around. They're fucking asleep.
Yep.
They're fumbling with their thumbs, man. Like, what are we doing?
Yep.
And I would watch when I was in treatment, when I'd cycle through these 28-day joints, man. Even I knew when I walked in, I was like, this isn't good.
It's going to work.
This isn't going to work. And not because I was resistant to it, because when I walked into the door to go into a treatment, I wanted some shit to change. At the end of the day, I'm not going to treatment. If I don't want shit to change, I ain't fucking going. I'm stubborn enough. I ain't going. 100%. I wanted some stuff to change. And I'm sitting in that program going, this is not right. This is ineffective.
Yep.
But yet we're still here. We're still doing it. Sorry to rant.
No, it's not a rant. I mean, the truth is we both basically digress because we're passionate about what we're passionate about. But the truth is like if you don't have that, and I think you at least need one person who's a like strong presence within there, and then it trickles down to like lighter versions of that there because not everyone can come that way. Yeah. It's not in some people's kit, but as long as it's injected philosophically through the community, you can have a really healthy environment and still do your insurance model shit. I feel like I probably demonize insurance-based treatment a little too much, but it's also, you're like, not enough.
No.
You're like, not enough. Well, it's because my experience is, in LA, one of my boys just shut down his program, one of 3 detoxes. Now, mind you, there's probably 3 detoxes within a mile of here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that I only refer to 2 now because he shut down, that's problematic.
Yeah.
But here, not the fact even though that I only would refer to them. The fact is I can't even think of off the top of my mind. There's one more I just thought of, but it's not with the amount of detoxes, residentials, facilities. I mean, outpatient is opening up every single week still.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Mm-hmm.
How? And it's the irony is insurance still pays for it. I mean, that bottle is trash. I don't care. Listen, it works for a small majority of people who haven't been in treatment. But this Florida model shit where guys are just getting their rent paid for and relapse. Like, I was on the phone with a dude today. He's in Baltimore, bro. He's telling me, Sam, I haven't heard this in a long time. He's telling me that in Baltimore, the sober livings, they're all state funded though. So different model than like this bougie shit going on out here in LA. He goes, he found me on TikTok too. He's like, I just need to talk to you, bro. I was like, I'm trying to help him figure it out. He's on like 90 milligrams of methadone. Like he's gonna have a rough bite, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, you gotta be prepared, bro. You're gonna have to eat it at some point. And we're talking, and he was like, bro, yeah. He's like, the sober livings are right next to the dope spots in Baltimore. And he goes, the managers in some of the houses, I don't want to bash on Baltimore, but the managers in some of the houses are supplying the dope. But if you pop positive, they kick you out on the streets. I was like, dude, what is going on? I was like, but you know, I hear shit from people. But I'm like, it could happen though. It's just it was the wildest thing I've heard. I mean, I've heard clients getting paid to go to treatment. I've heard it all at this point. But I was like, man, and I know how Baltimore is. Baltimore is a little rough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, she rough.
Very rough.
Baltimore's rough.
But I was like,
Bodymore Murderland, what they call it.
Really?
Yeah, Bodymore Murderland.
What
Instead of Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah. Bodymore, Maryland.
Bodymore Murderland.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's no joke. I was bugging out when he was explaining it all to me. It's just sad.
Yeah. This has been great, man.
It has. I think we're there too.
I think we're there.
Yeah, we're at 11:30, and I got to get you back.
I'll just get an Uber from here to go to.
It might be.
Yeah.
Huh?
What, you want to wrap up or anything like that? Want to say anything or
Yeah.
say thank you? Or?
Say thanks, fuck you, see you later, say something. Let's get something.
What do we say?
Thank you.
Thank you, audience, for witnessing me and Sam have a
Don't forget to
conversation.
hit that like and subscribe
Yeah.
button, man, if you like what we're saying.
Yeah, go follow Sam. He has substantially more followers than me because he's more charismatic and doesn't say the F word as much.
Oh,
That's
no.
100% the
I've
truth.
just only thing is I've been watching you catching.
A
The
little
only
bit.
thing is that I've just been doing it longer. That's it.
That's true.
You catching.
That's true.
That's why I want to join forces with you.
I know. We're here.
Mm-hmm.
We're here. I'm going to be out in Richmond at some point
Yeah,
this year. I need to get out of here anyway.
pretty quick. It's just a flight.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's not that far.
Yeah.
Also, I need to get out of LA.
Yeah.
Like the South. It's
Yeah.
good. Go hunt.
Yeah. Well, we got spring gobbler season coming up in April.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if you eat turkey. I don't know if you're a turkey.
I love
hunter or
turkey.
not. No.
Love it.
You
I'm
like
down.
turkey?
I love turkey.
All right.
Love turkey.
Spring turkeys can be a little oniony
Okay.
feeling, tasting.
Whatever. I'm down with food.
All
As
right.
long as it's real food.
All right.
Out here we get like
Ooh, man. All right. So what we do when we bring people into the podcast is, pick you up, do the show.
Uh-huh.
Then we go to this place called the Halfway House.
Uh-huh.
It's a restaurant where George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, General Grant, General Burnside, General Lee, Lafayette.
all the guys who are getting like destroyed right now. General Grant, General Lee.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They all dine there, so we can sit there and eat where they.
Oh,
ate.
it's like this is why I love
the
the
kitchen's
East
in
Coast.
the back. Kitchen's in the back, separate from the house, and
I'm
right
down.
there by their fireplace, man.
I'm done.
Delicious food.
I love
So,
it, and
let's
it's
do it.
part of history.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good?
Was that our goodbye?
It was it?
Yeah, I
don't
guess
know
it
what to
was. We're
say.
good.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
fuck it.
good.
We ain't. We're not going for Oscars here.